There's this guy, right? He hit 10,000 golf balls in a month. Now, to hit that many in a month, you'd have to swing at about 333 balls every single day. Just the cost of the golf balls alone was over $1,000. And get this, he worked so hard his fingers even started bleeding. Now, after all that practice, you might be wondering, how much did his score improve? Howdy, golf lovers, and soon-to-be golf enthusiasts. Welcome to Birdie Squad. He cut his score by about 4 strokes. To be exact, he went from 97.6 to 93.2, a drop of 4.4 strokes. Can you believe that? Golf is just wild, isn't it? After all that hard practice, and only 4 strokes better. Someone left a comment on the video saying something that really hits home. The thing about practicing on the range is, you don't want to just hit balls. You want to have a goal and make sure you're practicing the right way. What do y'all think? Well, I guess it's time to show you how to set proper goals and practice the right way. So, what's the quickest way for us amateurs to lower our scores? It's all about adding more distance, plain and simple. If you can get more yards off the tee with your driver, it's going to make your second shot easier to hit the green, which means you'll be closer to the pin and, in turn, cut down on those dreaded 3 putts. According to Bomb and Gouge, every 10 yards you add to your drive can shave about 1 stroke off your game. And that's not just for the pros, it works for regular folks like us too. Now, how do you add that distance? It comes down to 2 main things. First, you've got to increase your head speed. Second, you need to transfer all that speed to the ball. Now, you might be thinking, oh great, just hit it square, right? Not quite. I'm talking about how increasing your head speed and why a draw goes farther than a fade. I'll break down all the details for you. It might seem a little technical at first, but stick with me. By the end, you'll have a better understanding of the mechanics of your swing. And once you get that down, you'll know exactly how to practice and develop a swing that works for you. So, let's dive right in. Y'all, increasing head speed doesn't come from just swinging faster in a circular motion. It's actually because of something called the double pendulum effect. So, how do you really get that head speed up? First, you need to use some vertical movement in your swing. And second, right before impact, you've got to have a bit of a stopping motion. Once you put these 2 things into practice, your head speed is going to get so fast, it might feel like you're losing control. So, why does that happen? Well, let me break down the mechanics for you and explain the reason behind it all. Alright, so this double pendulum thing I mentioned earlier is basically when one pendulum is attached to another. To put it simply, imagine a string with a weight at the end. Now picture 2 of those linked together. So what's what here? Well, the top part is your arms, and the bottom part is the club. Now let's take a look at a video. When we fix the top pendulum, your arms, in place, and let the bottom pendulum, the club, drop, it swings down and hits the ball. So how do we speed up the club head in this motion? 2 things need to happen. First, you move the top part, your arms, up and down. Second, you stop the motion near impact. Let's focus on the first part. Take a look at this video. In the top clip, we just let the club fall without moving the arms. And in the bottom clip, we drop the arms, hands, down, and then lift them up. What do you notice? When the arms drop with the club, the head lags behind a bit. But when we lift the arms around that 45-degree point, the club head speeds up dramatically. So why does this happen? It's because the swing radius shortens, making the speed increase. This is all thanks to the conservation of angular momentum. Let me make this even easier to understand with a quick video example. Picture yourself sitting in a spinning chair with your arms stretched out, spinning at a steady pace. Now, what happens when you pull your arms in? Yup, you spin faster. This is the same concept that applies when you lower and raise your arms in the swing. So, what do you need to increase head speed? 2 things. First, you've got to keep a wide swing arc during your downswing. Then, as you approach impact, you shorten the arc to really ramp up that head speed. Let's take another look at how this vertical motion works in the swing. In the first example, when your arms don't move, the swing radius stays the same all the way through impact. But when you drop your arms downward, the swing radius gets bigger. Then, just before impact, when you lift your arms back up, the radius shortens. This is where the head speed increases. Now, let's talk about the second part. Stopping near impact. Most of you probably already know this, since it's been taught so much. When you stop your hands right before impact, the ball takes off much faster than if you just let everything rotate freely. If you pay close attention, you'll see that up to about 90 degrees. Both arms and club are moving at the same speed, but once the hands break, the head speed shoots up. In golf lessons, we often hear phrases like building a wall or hitting the brakes during the swing, but these are actually misleading. You're not intentionally stopping or slamming on the brakes during the impact. The wall or brake effect is just a natural outcome of a good swing. The key is to let the hands naturally slow down near impact, not to force them to stop. It's all about maintaining proper form so that the hands slow down as a result, not as a conscious action. Let's break this down visually by looking at the downswing and impact in two sections. On the left, you'll see how the hands move more than on the right, where the head covers more distance. What's happening is that, in the latter part of the downswing, your hands should slow down while the club head speeds up. Getting into that position is what's really important. Now, if you combine these two principles, using vertical motion and allowing the hands to naturally slow, you'll get a significant increase in head speed. Notice that we're not trying to force the club to move in a circular motion, yet the speed difference is obvious. So how do you practice these two key movements? The first part, the downward motion in the downswing, can be practiced by doing a squat movement while you swing. In the 2024 DP World Tour, Tommy Fleetwood, after beating Rory McIlroy for the win, described his downswing like this. The first move is my left hip going back and down. It's a great way to think about it. You've probably also seen that famous video of Tiger Woods, where he pulls his hips back as he starts his downswing. It's not something you'd notice just by watching a normal swing, but there's a lot going on behind the scenes in a golf swing. So, how do you get that feel into your swing? I've got a simple drill for you. Practice by throwing something onto the ground. Getting this feeling is key. When you're in your downswing, remember how I mentioned you should sit into your hips and pull them back? You can practice this by throwing an object from up high down to the ground. Grab a pillow or something lightweight but big from around the house, and just throw it straight down to the floor. Then take it up a notch by heading to the gym and slamming a medicine ball into the ground. This drill will really help you feel that hip sit and accelerate the club head. Now for the second part, where you lift your upper body right before impact, there's a great way to practice that too, the Bryson DeChambeau drill. Alright, let's talk about getting into the P6 position. P6 is when the shaft is parallel to the ground during your downswing. Now, you're not going to just freeze in this position. You'll want to have a bit of movement in the club to keep things natural. From here, pull your left foot back and lift your body as you go through impact and into your follow-through. If you practice this, you might feel some muscle soreness because you'll be using muscles you don't normally engage. But trust me, your distance is going to skyrocket. This is all about transferring maximum energy into the club. Now let's move on to how you can maximize head speed by braking just before impact. There are two things you need: lag and a brake. Lag happens when your wrists stay hinged and the club is trailing behind as you come down. Then comes the brake. You've got to stop part of your body to create that whip-like effect. But where should you brake? Should you stop your hands? Nope. The brake comes from your left leg. As you go through your downswing, your left leg needs to brace hard. This stabilizes your body, stopping your forward motion while your hands slow down. And that's when the club head speed ramps up to the max. To practice this, focus on really grounding yourself with your left leg at the moment of impact. Feel that solid stop in your lower body, and you'll see a noticeable increase in your head speed. Here's another quick tip for you. Remember earlier when I mentioned that as your arms drop, the club head trails behind? That's what we call lag. Just by letting your arms drop downward, you naturally create lag, which helps boost your head speed. But even if you're trying to maximize your head speed, if your impact is off, the ball can fly all over the place, making it hard to know if you're really hitting that peak speed. That's when it helps to use a training tool like the K-timer. No matter how hard you swing, if there's no acceleration, the light won't come on. Plus, it gives you feedback on whether the light comes on around the impact zone or not. If it lights up way before impact, you're wasting your energy in the wrong spot. If you're interested, I'll leave a link in the pinned comment. We've also got an event for Birdie Squad subscribers, so be sure to check it out. But now that you've increased your head speed, you don't want to waste it by hitting the ball poorly, right? So let me show you how to make solid contact for maximum distance. This next part is all about nailing the impact, ensuring that your ball flies farther than ever. Let's dive into the proper technique to make the most of that speed. You've probably heard that hitting a draw sends the ball farther, right? But actually, a fade can get you more distance. Why's that? Let's start with what each shot shape is. A draw is when the ball starts off to the right and then curves back to the left. On the other hand, a fade is when the ball starts to the left and curves back to the right. And if you hit a power fade, your distance can go through the roof. I'll go over the how and why next. All right, there are two key things you need to send the ball farther. What are they? Yep, fast head speed and an upward strike. But add one more to the mix, low spin. First off, you got to make contact right before your head speed peaks. So, when's the head speed at its fastest? Like I've mentioned before, it's when the swing radius is the smallest and when your hands act like they're putting on the brakes. To make that swing radius smaller, you got to pull the club upward, and your left arm plays a big part in that. So, the moment when your left arm and the club form a straight line is when the swing radius is at its smallest, and the braking effect kicks in. That's why so many pros have their left arm and shaft straight right after impact. When you look at impact, it's kind of like pulling a rubber band off the ground. That's what it means to pull the shot. Just like in baseball, a right-handed hitter can send the ball farther to the right side easier than to the left. That's why they call it pulling the ball. So, is the point where you're pulling the hardest right in front of you? Nope. It's actually to the left of center, right after the club passes the lowest point. Now, if the strongest moment happens left of center, then an inside-out swing path is ideal for getting the most distance. That's because you can make an upward strike, upper blow, at impact, which is the second key to gaining distance. With a straight shot, the lowest point of the swing and the pulling motion line up. In an out-to-in path, the club is at its fastest before the lowest point. But with an in-to-out path, the fastest point happens after the club passes the lowest point. Now, here's where the question pops up. If an in-to-out swing creates a draw, why does a fade go farther? Good question. The answer is that you're right. An in-to-out path tends to produce a draw because the swing path is heading to the right at impact. Now, when did I say the head speed is at its fastest? Yep, it's when your left arm and the club are in a straight line. But that happens after the ball's already been hit. So if you want to make contact when the club is at its fastest, you've got to be hitting the ball as your swing path moves left. So, how do you hit the ball when your swing plane is moving left? First, you can close your stance a bit to rotate your swing plane slightly to the right. Second, widen your stance to shift your swing plane a bit more to the right. When you look at this swing adjustment from the front, what do you see? The angle of the club head going up gets steeper. That's why you need to tee the ball higher. These are the three things Rory McIlroy talks about when teaching how to add distance with your driver. Widen your stance, pull your right foot back a bit, and tee it up high. So how do you create an inside-out swing path? Simple, by taking your backswing to the outside. If you watch the video, it shows how the downswing changes depending on whether you swing inside or outside on the backswing. What happens? When you backswing to the outside, your right arm naturally moves inside on the downswing as your body turns. On the flip side, if you take the backswing inside, your arm comes over the top to the outside on the downswing. That's why you shouldn't bend your right elbow and pull the club head inside during the takeaway. If you really want to maximize your distance, try mastering the power fade. Even if you're new to it, you can easily add 10 to 20 yard. Alright, in this video y'all learned about the ultimate tool for adding distance, the power fade. So, what were the key takeaways? First, to maximize head speed. Focus on vertical movement and that braking motion. Second, swing with an inside-out path while hitting a power fade. That's it. This video is geared a bit more towards intermediate to advanced golfers, but I've broken down the principles in detail, so most golfers should be able to follow along. Just understanding this will help you grasp your swing mechanics and guide your practice in the right direction. If anything's unclear, watch it 2 or 3 times until it clicks. It'll completely change your swing. Thanks so much for watching. We'll be back with more great info and helpful tips until all our Birdie Squad subscribers are shooting single digits. Thanks again. This has been Birdie Squad.